Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission today. Well, it's kind of a crash course in reality. We're pulling together insights from basically the life's work of Robert Greene. Power, mastery, strategy, human nature. And look, we're not just trying to learn a few tricks here. The goal is to become what Greene calls a radical realist.
That's a perfect way to put it. Radical realism. It's like the antidote to all the comfortable lies our culture tends to feed us. Greene's whole foundation rests on this idea, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That the human brain is this incredibly sensitive instrument, evolved over ages to spot subtle dangers.
Yeah, back then it was, a predator hiding in the grass or maybe unstable ground, real physical threats.
Exactly. But today,
Yeah.
the biggest dangers aren't usually physical anymore. They're psychological and political. We're thrown into these constant, really complex social games at work, in relationships, everywhere, really. But we often walk into these situations, as one source puts it, kind of burdened with delusions, which just leaves us, well, vulnerable, naive even.
Okay, so step one is shedding that naivete. What are some of the biggest false ideas we pick up that set us up for failure?
Well, a few really stand out from the cultural narrative. First, there's this belief that success is mostly external stuff. Who you know, the right connections, quick money.
Right, or having the perfect resume.
Then there's the idea that work is supposed to always feel fun. Like if it's hard, you must be on the wrong track.
Oh, that's a huge one. We're definitely conditioned to want things easy, to avoid friction.
And that leads to maybe the most dangerous delusion of all, refusing to see the darker side of human nature, including our own. We like to think, manipulation, narcissism, aggression, and that's just for those bad apples out there, not us, not the people around us. So then we get completely blindsided by indifference or even betrayal because we were playing by a different set of rules in our head.
We expected a different game. Okay, so we need a major recalibration, and it sounds like that starts internally.
Yeah.
Before you deal with the outside world, you have to get your own house in order, which brings us to the life's task.
Yes, the life's task. And it's more than just a job, right? It's that deeper pull, that sense of purpose guiding your energy, your career. But here's the crucial thing, finding it. It's almost never a straight line. A lot of masters, they figure it out pretty late, 30s, 40s, sometimes even later.
Greene himself is like the poster child for that winding path. He talks about feeling totally lost in his 20s. He apparently worked something like 60 different jobs by the time he hit 36.
60. Wow. What kind of jobs?
All sorts. Teaching English, construction, hotel work, even for a detective agency, apparently.
That sounds exhausting, but also kind of fascinating in retrospect. Because that moment of clarity for him, it came later. 1995, he was in Venice. A book packager asked him for an idea on the spot. And he improvised this pitch, which became the 48 Laws of Power. Suddenly, he saw it. All those power games he'd read about in history, Caesar, the Borgias, they were the exact same cynical political moves he'd seen firsthand in all those low-level jobs.
So the feeling of being lost was actually research. Deep immersion in the subject without even realizing it. His purpose wasn't to get power, but to expose how it actually works.
Precisely. And once that clicked, he poured everything into it. That connection, that purpose, changes everything, including how you think about success and creativity. We get fed this myth, don't we, that creativity is just this magical gift you're born with.
Yeah, like some people just have it, but the sources really push back on that. They say creativity is earned. It takes years, experimenting, failing, trying again. Endless patience.
It really does. Success isn't some lightning strike. It's just the part people see, the tip of the iceberg. Underneath, it's all slow accumulation. Knowledge, skills, fixing your work habits bit by bit, willingness to fail privately.
You see that fierce dedication in someone like Toni Morrison. I mean, she worked full-time as an editor, raising 2 kids on her own, and she only started writing her first novel after 11 p.m. at night, carving out those late private hours.
That's the kind of desire it takes. And that's why Greene stresses the ideal apprenticeship. He figures it takes, 5 to 10 years? And the core lesson there, learning by doing beats passive learning every time.
Right. He uses his experience learning French, studied it for years at university, but when he actually got to Paris.
His skills were woefully inadequate, I think he said, because the stakes weren't real in the classroom. But living in Paris, suddenly it's sink or swim. He had to go out, talk to people, make mistakes, absorb it all through trial and error. He learned more French in 1 month of that than in years of university study. because the motivation was real and the practice was constant.
That kind of immersion builds real confidence. Okay, so you get the skills through apprenticeship, but then you have to move into the scheming court, as he calls it, the professional world.
And that's where the power dynamics become absolutely critical. You're entering a place where political games are always being played, often under the surface. Greene learned this the hard way, apparently, years before the 48 Laws.
Tell me about that. He was working on a documentary, a competitive job.
Yeah, very competitive. He was genuinely good at it, finding better stories, really excelling. He thought, okay, my job is just to deliver the best results.
Operating under the merit wins delusion, as you said earlier.
Exactly. But then, suddenly, his boss, the person controlling his career there, started acting. Well, subtly displeased.
Mm-hmm.
He tried everything, running ideas by her first, being extra friendly.
Yeah.
But the tension just kept building.
So what was the breaking point?
She actually interrupted a meeting just to tell him in front of others that he had an attitude problem. He got defensive, naturally, quit later on. And it was only looking back that he got it, the painful truth. He'd broken law one, never outshined the master. By being so good, he was making her feel insecure.
Wait a minute. So he got pushed out, essentially for doing his job too well? That seems completely backwards from what we're usually told about work.
It feels backwards, but it's radically real, isn't it? He showed he was more talented, and she reacted by removing the threat to her position. That realization changed everything for him. Success in that kind of court means you have to become a master observer. It's not just about your brilliance, it's about making the master shine.
Like the Galileo example, that's brilliant. He discovers Jupiter's moon's a massive scientific leap. But he doesn't use it to say, look how smart I am, smarter than the Medicis.
No way. Instead, he spins it masterfully, turns the discovery into this cosmic event honoring the Medici's greatness. He literally names the moons after the Medici family members, aligns them with the stars. He gets their patronage, gets resources, navigates the politics, all by making the powerful look even more powerful.
Okay, so you manage up. But what about dealing with the really difficult people? The toxic types you inevitably run into? Greene warns that these players often mask their moves, right? Pretend to be non-players, maybe flaunting morality.
Definitely. The number one rule there, judge them by their actions, by their behavior, not just their words. And one key type to watch out for is the deep narcissist. That extreme self-confidence they project. It often hides this huge inner void.
And how do they treat people? You used the term self-objects earlier. That sounds a bit clinical. What does that actually look like day to day, in a meeting, say, or a relationship?
Yeah, that's crucial. A self-object isn't seen as a real separate person. They're seen as, well, an extension of the narcissist, a tool for validation. So in practice, it means you're only valued when you're giving them praise, attention, or just functioning exactly how they want you to.
Like they expect you to be their mirror or something.
Exactly like a mirror, reflecting their desired image back at them. And if you dare to challenge that image, or criticize them even slightly, they often react with just disproportionate rage. But cleverly, they'll often frame themselves as the victim while trying to control you even more tightly.
So to see through all that murkiness, Greene brings up an old tool.
Wow.
Cui bono? How benefit?
Cui bono. For whose good? When someone's actions seem confusing or contradictory, just look past the explanation they give. Ask yourself, who really gains from this in the end? Because self-interest, whether it's hidden or obvious, is a powerful force.
Recognizing that self-interest seems key to adopting this strategic mindset, which means accepting that, well, deception is part of the game, not necessarily evil, just how humans interact sometimes. The goal is mastering indirection without making enemies.
Right. It's like the pool table metaphor he uses. Beginners just try to sink the ball right in front of them.
Simple, direct action.
But the master strategists, they're seeing the whole table, the angles above the angles, as he puts it. Strategy isn't just one move. It's about setting up the final shot, maybe even using a decoy goal to misdirect people about what you're really after. Playing on that instinct, people have to trust appearances.
And then there's the power of just saying less. Always say less than necessary. Simple advice, but profound.
Silence is power. When you hold back, you create a kind of vacuum. People feel uncomfortable, they rush to fill it. And in doing so, they often reveal their own intentions, their worries, their weaknesses. Speaking less makes you seem more powerful, more in control, and keeps your own cards hidden.
Okay, so all this external strategy, how does it connect back to our internal state? You mentioned the inner Athena earlier. We started by saying these power games, these dysfunctional relationships, they cause real pain, frustration, loneliness.
Right. And the inner Athena represents that calm, practical intelligence that helps us navigate it all. But here's where we hit a common misconception about rationality. People think being rational means being cold, suppressing all emotion.
But you're saying that's not it. We should actually use emotions like anger strategically.
Absolutely. True rationality isn't about suppressing strong emotions, it's about using them as fuel. Let's say you're furious about a toxic situation at work. A terrible boss, maybe. If you just blow up, you lose. You give away your power. But if you channel that anger, that intense frustration, it can motivate you to step back, calm down, and make a really clear, rational plan. Maybe a plan to find a new job or navigate the situation differently.
So the emotion provides the energy, but reason directs the action. And taking that effective action brings relief, reinforces the rational approach for next time, a positive cycle.
Exactly. It's the difference between exploding and deploying, strategically deploying your energy. And the final piece of this realism puzzle is facing our own dark side. The shadow, as Jung called it. Those parts of ourselves we try to push down, maybe intense ambition, maybe a streak of ruthlessness.
But wait, if we repress it, how does embracing it, like Lincoln supposedly did, lead to things like empathy? That connection feels tricky.
The link is understanding, really. Lincoln knew he had this ambitious, sometimes cold side, but he also had deep sensitivity, deep empathy. By acknowledging his own capacity for ambition, even ruthlessness, he understood it better. Not just in himself, but in others too. You can't truly grasp manipulation in someone else if you pretend you have zero capacity for it yourself.
Mm.
Authenticity comes from integrating the whole complex picture, not just the nice parts.
Understanding the full spectrum of human motivation, starting with your own. And the ultimate reality check Greene keeps coming back to is mortality.
Yeah.
He mentions Dostoevsky's near execution, his own experience with a stroke.
Yeah, that awareness of a continual deadline, as he calls it. It's the ultimate focus tool. It just cuts through the petty stuff, the office politics, the small annoyances. It forces you to prioritize what actually matters. It gives you perspective.
So, okay, we've traced this journey from being kind of naive and maybe deluded towards this radical realism, embracing the hidden rules, navigating the court, understanding our own complex selves. It's about knowing the limits, focusing energy wisely.
You really are the main character in your own story, aren't you? And what strategic realism teaches is that real power isn't about winning every single fight. It's about choosing very carefully where you invest your time and energy, because that's the one resource you absolutely cannot get back.
That's the real currency, isn't it? Time and attention. So, building on that, here's a final thought for you, the listener, to take away today. We know time lost is gone forever. So, just for today, try this. Actively practice some strategic self-control. Identify one thing could be a piece of minor drama, an annoying email, some pointless social media spat, one trivial annoyance or emotional whirlpool, and then strategically, consciously refuse to react to it. What's the one emotional reaction you can choose not to engage with today?
That conscious refusal to get sucked into the trivials, that might just be the highest form of mastery, a vital tool for any radical realist.
Thank you for joining us on the deep dive. We'll see you next time.